Hello ladies and welcome to this week's live training. My name is Sian Burton. I am your marketing and scaling expert as a woman owning a private practice. And this week we're going to be talking about how you manage exponential growth. That is when your practice is growing by 50 to 100% year on year. Now, I know for many of you watching this, you're like, wow, that is the nirvana, right? Like, I don't even feel like that's possible for me right now. So first up for you, know that it 100% is possible. And the ladies who come into Success Without Sacrifice, my signature program, are just like you and have been struggling for a long time maybe and are starting to feel like there's never going to be a time where it's easy and things grow quickly and effortlessly. But know that it just takes a few tweaks, the right marketing, the right team, the right systems, and you can be off and running the same way that they are. That said, I also know that there are many of you out there who are seeing this great success. Like you've opened a practice, you filled really quickly, you took on a team member, they filled up, and it's just growing and growing and growing and becoming somewhat stressful. And I know that those of you that are watching that who aren't experiencing that are like, really, how bad can it be? Like, I hear this a lot in our programs, like, that's a good problem to have. The truth is that there aren't any good problems to have. That just comes from the desire to be where that person is. And in all honesty, like an envy, right? Like that's a good problem to have. That energy is like, I'm jealous of where you're at. I wish I had that problem, as opposed to an empathy for where the person's at. Just give you that little mindset shift. Because the reality is that when your business grows 100% year on year, as mine has for the last 3 years, it gets kind of uncomfortable and it gets kind of messy and it gets kind of overwhelming, in all honesty. Like, and for the first couple of years this was happening to me, I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. Like, I'd be like, okay, well, this is what we need to do to catch up with where the business has got to. We'd implement that, and then I'd look up and the business has grown again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what we just did is kind of irrelevant now because we've moved on again. And that's both tiring, stressful, and it feels like you're never going to catch up. It just feels like it's constantly moving. It's an ever moving goalpost that you can't reach. And it feels like you're running along behind your business, trying to like scoop everything up and keep it together. And it isn't a great deal of fun. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, you're speaking to me, this is where I'm at right now, then please say in the comments and let me know who you are and what's going on for you, because I'm really excited to share this with you, what we're going to talk about today, and give you some things that you can use to help move through this more easily. So the first of those things, and this is probably the thing I think that most pushes people around their comfort zone, is that you have to get your house in order. And by that, I mean you need to get your home in order. You cannot manage and operate a business that is growing exponentially, 50 to 100% growth year on year, and be going home and cooking all your meals and doing all your washing and doing all your cleaning and folding all your clothes and running your kids to everything and doing all the errands. Like, no man would ever try and do that. I mean, they don't do that stuff anyway, let's be honest, mostly. Some of them do, but most of them don't. You will not find a man on this planet who has a business that is growing 50 to 100% year on year who is going home and being a 1950s housewife. They just don't do it. And yet, many of the women who come into Success Without Sacrifice are trying to do both of these things. They're trying to navigate an exponentially growing business, which is a challenge on its own, and be an attentive wife, a partner, mother, and be a housekeeper, and do everything else. And it's not possible. Stop kidding yourself that you can do it all, because you can't, and nor should you, right? Why would you try and do those things? Unless you have some deep passion around cleaning or chauffeuring your kids around. Maybe chauffeuring your kids around is not the best example, but cleaning your toilets or ironing clothes. I'm going to assume you don't, because otherwise you would have a business in one of those things. It does not make any sense for you to be doing those things when your business is growing. So hire a housekeeper, have a cleaner, have somebody prep meals for you, order takeout sometimes. It's not a big deal. Like, do the things that you need to do to be able to be present for your children and to be present in your business, because they're the two places that you need to be, that no one else can be there for you. And they're the places that you need to have your focus, not on making sure that the dishwasher's been emptied or that the school uniform is ready to go. Give that responsibility to someone else. So the first thing is get your house in order. The second thing is workforce planning. The biggest mistake that I see people make when they're going through exponential growth is the business grows and then they try and hire to catch up. Or we've got all these clients coming in, we've got to wait, we better hire somebody. Or we've got more clients coming in, we better hire somebody. Or maybe we didn't need an admin now. Or maybe we should do this, right? And it's very ad hoc. It's very firefighting. It's very stressful. It means you're hiring from a place of panic and fear, which never works out to be your best hires. Instead of taking a moment to think, okay, let's assume that we continue on the trajectory that we've been on for the last 12 months and we double in size in the next 12 months. How many clients will we be servicing in that situation? How many team will I need to service that many clients? How many admins will I need to service that many clients? And how many of me hours are required to manage those people? When you know that, you can then say, I'm going to need 4 more team members. I'm going to hire one every quarter, roughly. And I'm going to know that that's the plan, and I'm going to start the process early so that it's not panicked. And I know for every 2 therapists, I'm going to need to hire another admin. It becomes a plan. That's what workforce planning is. When you have a plan that you're acting on, it's way less stressful than being in the moment and being like, oh my goodness, everyone's completely overwhelmed. I need to hire somebody. Who do I need to hire? What should they look like? Oh, I need to hire a therapist. Now I can't find one. It adds this huge layer of stress and anxiety to your plate, and that, like I said, can play into bad hires being made because you're hiring from a place of panic. So workforce planning, take a breath. I know many of you are like, what if it doesn't work out like that? But all we're doing is planning, right? If it doesn't work out like that, it's fine. But you've taken the need to think in the spirit of the moment and you've done some planning. So workforce plan is the second thing that I suggest you do. And do that for 12 months so that you're really across that. And then the third thing is to make sure that you are keeping on top of your team's capability so that they are at capacity and you're not just hiring because people don't want to work the hours that you want them to, or because you've got a lot of people who just do part-time hours for you. And so they're changing their hours or they're not fully invested in your business. We need to make sure that you have your entire team filled to capacity before you make that next hire, because that's another mistake that I see people make. They sort of panic because their team are at 60%, but nobody wants to work the hours that the clients want to come. And so they hire somebody else. Now they've got another salary to carry. That person might get 60%, and then they end up hiring someone else. And what they end up doing is carrying a team salaries that are at 60% capacity, and what they make from their business gets smaller and smaller and smaller with every hire as more and more goes towards topping up salaries that aren't full. So if before you go and make those hires, because this is the other thing that makes it really stressful, right, is if you're growing, everything's getting bigger, but the amount of money you make is getting smaller. You need to ensure that your entire team are full to capacity. And if they're not willing to work the hours, then you need to renegotiate their contracts before you bring someone else into the team. Because every single person that is not full that you pay is eating into what you take from the business. I have helped businesses make twice as much money from their practice without adding a single team member. That's what scaling is about. Many of you say, what's the difference between growth and scaling? Growth is where you add more team members, more admin, whatever it might be, more services to grow. Scaling is where you take what you've got and you make it more profitable. And so we can scale a business to help you make twice as much money from it when we work with the team that you've got, but to be more utilized in a better way so that you can make more money from them. So we want to be really keeping that utilization in mind before you're adding new team members on, because not making money when your business is growing exponentially is the most stressful part of it growing. I can tell you that for sure. And it's not something that I want you guys to fall into, because you just end up working harder for less money. And then you end up seeing more clients in the hope that you're bringing more money to prop up the business. So not only is the business taking more from you, but you're seeing more clients. It's just a recipe for disaster. So we want to avoid that. The final thing is managing your overwhelm, because there isn't really any avoiding feeling overwhelmed when you go through exponential growth. At times, you shouldn't be overwhelmed all the time. It shouldn't feel like you're drowning because it's a runaway train. But there will be times where growth happens, even in this scenario, growth happens quicker than you expect it, because it's not linear, right? So we'll have stages where for no apparent reason, 6 or 8 people will join our program in 1 month instead of the normal 4 that we welcome in. And it just is not unexpected. It's not expected. You're not going to say to people, I'm sorry, you can't join this month. But it adds pressure in that we weren't expecting. And the same will happen for you. Like might have a month where 10 new clients come. And then the next month, 30 new clients come for no apparent reason. That's going to be overwhelming because you have to navigate that quickly on the fly. But what's important is that you recognize you're overwhelmed. You figure out solutions to move things off your plate, more things off your plate to your team, so that you can bring your focus back into what only you can do. And you remove things off your plate to reduce the overwhelm, because your job as the owner of the business is to do less and less, but more and more of the things that only you can do. So those of you that have got 1 or 2 team members right now are doing everything. Those of you that have 15 team members are doing a much smaller proportion of things in the business. And every time the business scales, those things need to get smaller. You need to hire people to be able to do more of the things that you do until you get down to the point where you're doing only things that you can do for your practice, because they're your magic, they're your zone of genius, as we've spoken about before. And that is the final piece of how you manage exponential growth. It's always keeping your eye on the ball of what else can I take from my plate? What else can I pass to my team? How else can I reduce my workload so that the things that only I can do, the volume of which expand as we grow from a time requirement, I can spend more and more of my time on. Because by the time you get to a $2 million practice, your magic will be taking up 3 days a week. Everything else is outsourced to other people. And you are solely focused on those things. And at that point, it's around like, where is the business going? What services will we offer? How will we differentiate ourselves? Like things that only you as the owner can do. And I know that's not the experience when you're at 20,000 a month, but you don't go from 20,000 a month doing everything to $2 million a year, which would be 2 million is 160,000 a month, doing just your magic in one leap, right? It's the process of shedding things that shouldn't be on your plate because you're not good at them to start with, then shedding things that you're okay at but other people could do, and then shedding things that you're really good at but you need to hire in so you can focus on the things that only you can do. And in that process, building your business as you go and reducing your overwhelm with each step. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this and whether it was helpful, whether you are experiencing this exponential growth at the moment. If you're not, know that it is 100% possible for you. And if you're trying to figure out how on the earth you make that happen, then I really invite you to book a call with us so that we can talk you through our Feminine Way to Scale consultation, where we'll look at your practice and see why you're not experiencing that exponential growth right now, and provide you with really clear steps on what you need to do to start to create it for yourself too. Because I want to see you celebrating your biggest month ever and your biggest year ever and growing by 100% year on year like so many of our clients do, because I know it's possible for you and I'm really excited to support you to do that. So if you'd like to book a call, the link is in the comments, in the intro. And otherwise, I will see you ladies again next week for our next training.